Bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, folks. That's right. We have to end the week with another bag alert. I predicted it. I called it. You already know we're going to have to go over it, okay? Creed Humphrey resets the center market, and we got to ask a few questions. We really do. We really got to ask a few questions, all right? Is there more pressure on Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson this season? Let me know. Let me know, okay? Should the 49ers value extending Trent Williams or Brandon Aiyuk? Now, that's going to be a controversial one, but it's okay. We got to go. We have to talk about it, okay? As well as, did Omar Khan reach to try to upgrade the receiver position? We're going to keep this very light, and we're going to keep this very, 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 very condensed, okay? Because we just gave y'all, okay, almost an hour episode. So we're just going to keep this one real light just to end the week right, okay? All of this and more on the 27th episode of the Football Junkies podcast. I'm your host, okay? Your GM who still does not have a job right now, but currently is taking interviews and is also giving advice to current GMs right now. 3 teams, okay? 2 of those teams are Super Bowl caliber teams, okay? As well as your chief, the head of the table, Bag Rodamus, as well as your chief bag meteorologist. You already know what I'm getting ready to say. I am your host, Kale. Let's lock in. All right, folks, let's just get into the information. Let's talk about the bag alerts. Okay, we're not going to keep this episode very long and drawn out. We're going to hit everything that we need to hit, and then we're going to let it go. Okay, so Creed Humphrey, center for the Chiefs. Okay, Super Bowl reigning Chiefs. Okay, have to put that in there, unfortunately. Signed a 4-year, $72 million deal to stay with the Chiefs, of course. So let's just go over the financials, okay? So he gets $50 million in total guarantees, and he's making about $18 million a year, according to who? Spot Rack. Shout out to Spot Rack. Now, when we break things down, right? So these are stats from last season. Of course, there's no stats for this season because the season hasn't even started yet, but it's supposed to be starting in 2 weeks, right? So he was first in pass blocking snaps. He was first in when it comes to pressure rates. He was first in one-on-one pressure rates. He was 7th in sack rates, and he was third averaged. I can't even speak. He was third when it comes to average time to pressure, okay, according to NFL Pro. There's a lot of new stats, so it's, it's still a little bit of a learning curve with everything, but, I'm going to learn, you're going to learn. So when we look at it, this was, very, very expected. Creed Humphrey is definitely, a top 5 center in the league. I mean, let's be real here. It was, expect he was going to reset the market, right? Same thing with people like Tyler Linderbaum and all the other, really good centers that are in the league, right? So, I mean, granted, the market for centers isn't that expensive, so it's a little bit easier to digest compared to, the receiver market, the cornerback market, the pass rusher markets, the quarterback market, all those different types of markets. So, all in all, it's a really good deal. Creed Humphrey has definitely been, an anchor for that offensive line since being drafted by the Chiefs, if we can be real here. So, all in all, it was a great signing. It really was. I mean, 18 million a year, that's good. That's really good. Now, if I can throw in my Bag Rodamus hat, for a quick second, do I believe someone is going to crest that 20 million, pretty soon? Yes. I think it's going to be either Tyler Linderbaum or I think Ryan Kelly is probably going to get one more big payday. I do. I truly believe that because they're, how can I say this without trying to be disrespectful? Centers aren't as valued as other positions, But when a team has a premier, great center on their team, most likely they're gonna, stay there for the rest of their career, right? It's rare that you see centers, really great centers actually, leave the team that they were drafted to, or, signed to, or whatever the case may be, right? And this is what it is. This is what it is. Creed Humphrey has been one of the best centers since coming into the league. You are talking about someone who has been consistent. You're talking about somebody who, you know, has done it all. You rarely see him, give up on plays. You rarely do. He is consistent. He holds his own against some of the best interior defensive linemen, and he does it well. So this is just him, getting fairly compensated for that. So congratulations to him. Now, on to the juicy topics, okay? This is a topic that I've definitely been thinking about because let's be real here. Aaron Rodgers has been getting a little bit more slack and a little bit more leeway compared to Aaron Rodgers, especially from certain people who will remain anonymous. Let's just call it for what it is, right? Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are, two quarterbacks who are from the older generation of quarterbacks who are still trying to hang on, who still feel like they can play at an elite level. And that's perfectly fine. It really is. However, I feel like we are diminishing one quarterback and continuing to praise another quarterback when that other quarterback has not done anything since, changing to another team. Now, granted, he could not control the injury. He couldn't. But at the same time, we are hyping him up and putting him on a level that he has not even, reached in a few years, right? Compared to Russell Wilson, who basically, it's just, a complete media beatdown, Oh, he's not supposed to be calm. He's not supposed to be this, that, and the other. Just like, bro, it's the preseason, right? It'll be different if this was, the regular season and, the team is on like a 3-game losing streak or whatever. Then it's like, okay, there need to be some urgency in your voice. There need to be some urgency in your tone, in the message that you're trying to convey, not only to the media, but to the team, right? And, Russell Wilson has always been somebody who can control the media. He always does. He's not someone that uses his emotions. He's not someone that, you don't know how things are going to be when it comes to reporters and different types of things. He is someone who you may have to try to decipher exactly what he's saying, but he's always going to handle the media thing very well. That's one thing that you can't take away from Russell Wilson. Whereas the other person, you don't know exactly what you're getting, right? You don't know if you're getting someone that's going to be professional or you're going to get someone, has a tinfoil hat on. That's just what it is, right? And when we look at their numbers, right, their numbers are somewhat similar. They're very close, honestly. So let's just look at them, okay? So Russell Wilson's last full season, 2023, of course, last season, he had 297 completions, 447 attempts, 3,070 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a 98 passer rating, and he averaged 6.9 yards per attempt. Cool, right? Now, let's look at Aaron Rodgers, okay? Aaron Rodgers last season was 2022, okay? 350 completions, 542 attempts, 3,695 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, a 91.1 passer rating, and he averaged 6.8 yards per attempt. Now, the only difference, honestly speaking, in their numbers is Aaron Rodgers probably threw for more passing yards, just a few more passing yards than what Russell Wilson did, right? But they have the same identical, touchdowns, except Aaron Rodgers threw more interceptions, and their passer rating is somewhat close, right? And whether we want to admit it or not, Russell Wilson, he didn't the last season was not necessarily a bad season. It was just it didn't meet the standard that we always see when it comes to Russell Wilson, right? Compared to, any other quarterback, right? If we're comparing Russell Wilson's stats from last year to, I don't know, Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence or, some no name or whatever the case may be, of course Russell Wilson's numbers are going to look a whole lot better compared to who? The other person, right? And so I feel like, there's more pressure on Aaron Rodgers than it is on Russell Wilson. Because why? The Jets moved a lot to get Aaron Rodgers. Not to mention, they also got his old, offensive coordinator, his little towel boy, and then they got some of his receivers, Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, and they brought all of those people in with him, right? You had all this, this big media buzz. They were on Hard Knocks and all these different types of things. So the pressure is on Aaron Rodgers, to show something. It is, because granted they've done a lot. Well, I want to my standards, I don't feel like they've done a lot, but in their eyes, they feel like they've done a lot for this team, right? From trying to rebuild the offensive line, and they get the left tackle from Penn State, and then they get Tyron Smith and whatnot. They're trying to invest more into the offensive line, try to protect Aaron Rodgers, and they're just trying to do a few different things just to try to only make things better for Aaron Rodgers, but somewhat try to take the load off of Aaron Rodgers. But at the end of the day, here, folks, a lot has been moved for Aaron Rodgers. A lot, the expectations were set high for Aaron Rodgers, right? There were a lot of people that were saying, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers is gonna, take them to a Super Bowl and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah." And it's just like, no, that's not a guarantee. It's never a guarantee, right? And Aaron Rodgers is in a place where, either one or two things are going to happen. Either you're going to have a dynamic season that's going to go down in the history books, or you're going to have a season where everyone is basically going to be like, "Bro, just retire, just retire, just find a little place on the beach and relax for the rest of your life." Okay, sure, you can still throw the ball, to some kids in the neighborhood or whatever the case may be, but as far as you playing, professional football, suiting up every Sunday and playing, do not do that, right? That is what is, and in some ways, it's in somewhat of the same situation for Russell Wilson as well, because the Steelers signed him to a vet minimum, right? And the Broncos basically were like, to hell with it, we'll eat, the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history just so we never see you again, right? And granted, some of that was because of Sean Payton and, his vision and whatnot, but I feel like, the temperature in the locker room for the Broncos when it came to Russell Wilson started to hit a point that, if you were around when the Legion of Boom, was like really up there, and a lot of people were talking about them, and they were supposed to be like the next big dynasty, and the whole debacle with the Super Bowl and whatnot, it sort of gave you somewhat of a similar vibe, but it didn't. And so here we are, right? Russ is trying to change his image. He's trying to show people that, hey, I'm still the Russell Wilson of old. I can still do this, this, and this. But it's like, are you? Are you? Because it's easier for us to trick our minds and to tell ourselves that we are the same person that we were, the person that was able to do, all these various different things. But the fact of the matter is, there comes a time and point where we all have to have that honest discussion with ourselves that, hey, I've lost my step, right? I lost a little pep in my step. I don't know how much I've lost, but I lost a little bit, okay? I lost a little bit of, I can't do this anymore, or I can only do it a few times, or whatever the case may be, right? And that's perfectly fine. But, the pressure is on the both of them to show something, right? Because Russ is trying to fight for another big deal, another opportunity to be a starting quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is somewhat fighting of a spot to see, if he's not going to get pushed into retirement at this point. That's what it is. That's really what it is. It's nothing, super hard or super complex to understand or whatnot. It's none of those things. And to any person that says that, there's no pressure on Aaron Rodgers, you're a liar. The Jets moved heaven and earth to get him. They did. And they carried on some of his teammates with him as well, and some of the coaching staff as well with him as well. A lot of players decided to go to the Jets because they were thinking, oh, with Aaron Rodgers being there, this is going to change everything. And so far, it hasn't lived up to those expectations nor those standards. So again, I will continue to say that the Jets are not a Super Bowl team. Now that defense is a very potent defense. That's a defense that you don't want to see in January. Okay. Now when it comes to that offense, I just don't see it. I just don't. Even with the decision of Aaron Rodgers not even taking at least a few snaps in the preseason game, I would have had him do it because he needs to get into a stride going into the season instead of just, you not knowing exactly what version you're getting out of him. You just need to do that. If Patrick Mahomes can go in for a few drives, if Jared Goff can do it, if every other starting quarterback can do it, what is the exception for you, Aaron? What is the exception for you? You haven't. Okay, granted, you've won a bunch of MVPs, but you haven't won a championship lately. You haven't, even though you had an opportunity to do it, but you choked that away, right? So exactly what makes you so high and mighty that you are above, taking a few snaps and building that chemistry with your players, compared to just saying, I'm okay. I don't need to do that because you know why? Because I'm Aaron Rodgers and I don't need to do that. I'm okay. I'm him. No. You need this more than everybody else does. You do. And it's okay if you don't want to admit it. That's perfectly fine, but you do need it. Now, moving on to the other topics that are going on. Wow, we're actually breezing by this pretty good. But I keep telling you guys, this is going to be a pretty short episode. This is not going to be drawn out. Just wanted to hit all the focal points. And, if anything crazy happens, of course, we'll, talk about it. And, of course, it'll be an episode about it. But, just want to keep things fairly light for you guys. But, there was definitely a question that came up that I saw. I think it was either on Twitter or Instagram. And it basically asked, well, I think it was talking about Trent Williams, right? And, there were people that were saying, oh, no, they don't need to do anything with Trent Williams, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, do you guys not know who Trent Williams is? Do you guys not get who Trent Williams is? Trent Williams is going to go down in history as one of the greatest left tackles in NFL history. He is going to rub elbows with Jonathan Ogden. If you don't know who Jonathan Ogden is, YouTube him. You'll see. And you have Brandon Aiyuk, who basically is this disgruntled receiver who feels like, he's being screwed over when it's like, bro, the team originally offered you 26. Okay, cool. You felt like you were worth more than that. That's perfectly fine. I'm not going to argue with you on that. Then you go from that to, you request a trade. Okay, cool. The 49ers, take calls from the Patriots, the Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cool. The Patriots were offering you $32 million. You didn't want that. The Browns were offering Amari Cooper and a little bit of money. You didn't want that either. You keep teetering and tottering on if you want to go to Pittsburgh or not. Same thing with Washington as well, with their whole debacle now with Jahan Dotson getting traded, right? So, you cannot continue to say, you can't continue to have, report you wants to stay here, he moved his family here and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, then sign the papers. Sign the papers. Why are you taking so long to come to a resolution. Either you want to be here or you want to go somewhere else. It's a simple decision. It's a yes or no. That's it. It's not hard. So I don't understand why in the world has this thing, basically drawn out going into the regular season. I don't get it. The 49ers have literally bent over backwards, forwards, side to side, left to right, spin around, do the spinneroni, and more for Brandon Aiyuk. They've done a lot for Brandon Aiyuk. And, they're probably, frustrated to the point where they're just like, to hell with it. To hell with it. Is it really worth trying to keep him if it means that, we're basically having to go through hell and high water just to please this fool? In my eyes, and this is just me personally, I know I'm probably going to get a whole lot of flack for it. To me, it is easier to replace and to find a Brandon Aiyuk player than it is a Trent Williams. I'm going to say that again because you probably didn't get that. So I'm going to say it a little bit closer in the microphone so you can really hear exactly what I'm saying. It is easier to find a Brandon Aiyuk type player than it is a Trent Williams. Okay? And the reason why I say that is because you can somewhat mold a player into the skill set that Brandon Aiyuk has, right? Trent Williams, that is natural. That is God-given ability with Trent Williams. You are talking about somebody who, when he was drafted to Washington, he was an anchor on that offensive line. And I'm talking about an offensive line that didn't have a lot of star power, that didn't have a lot of upside. He was the upside, right? And, of course, things happened with them and they handled a situation, the wrong way. And he basically wanted out and he went to San Francisco and he made, San Francisco's run game, pass game, just the whole entire offense a whole lot better, right? And so this was expected for him to ask for more money once Christian Darrisaw got paid. A little bit more of an easier process to figure out a way with Trent Williams' deal because he already has a pre-existing deal. So all in all, he probably just want more guaranteed money just to up the overall number, which is a little bit more easier to do compared to Brandon Aiyuk, where you're basically, okay, the offer is $26 million. Okay, he doesn't want $26 million. Okay, we're gonna up the offer by $2 million. Okay, he still doesn't want. Okay, we're gonna up the offer $2 more million. Okay, he still doesn't want. Okay, we're gonna up the offer $3 more million. Right? It's a lot easier to do something with Trent Williams than it is with Brandon Aiyuk, especially with reports coming out that basically the only thing that's stopping Brandon Aiyuk from inking this deal is he wants more guaranteed money at the end of his contract. Brother. Nobody has that. Well, no, actually, you know what? No, I lied. There are some people that do have it, but even then, most of the times people don't even see the end of the contract. Most of the times they're traded by the third year, the second or third year of the contract, if we're being real here. So, again, as I've said before in multiple episodes prior to this one, something has to break at this point, right? You're traveling with the team. You're not wearing any of the gear. You look like you're not interested in the team. Go. No one is stopping you. No one is holding your hand and saying, oh, Brandon, don't go. We miss you all so much. No one is saying that, bro. If you're going to go somewhere, go somewhere. Because right now, the team is trying to focus and try to prepare themselves for the gauntlet that they are going to... can't even speak because I'm so upset. For the gauntlet that they have to prepare themselves in order to get to the Super Bowl and to win one. They have to prepare themselves for that. And right now, this story has basically been dragging on since the end of the last Super Bowl. It's drawn out. Okay, people are tired of it. People are talking about. People are tired of talking about it. People are tired of speculating about it. People are tired of just talking about various rumors. Either you're going to put your name on that piece of paper and stay with the San Francisco 49ers and take that picture that every single person does, or you're going to be holding up a jersey of another team during a press conference. It's simple as that. Simple as that. And if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm probably thinking the same thing. Listen, there's supposed to be a few good receivers that are going to be coming out next year. Guess what? We can get them. It won't hurt us. We won't lose an inch of sleep off of it at all, compared to going through this foolishness with somebody who, he's basically nitpicking at every single little thing. And it's like, bro, just stop. Because even then, if when we look at the stats for both Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams, right? Brandon Aiyuk was second in receiving yards on 10 plus air yard targets, right? He averaged 3.2 yards per route, which was the fourth most in a single season since 2018. He gained 696 yards on intermediate targets, 101 more than any other receiver. Granted, he should be fairly compensated because he did have a great season. That was the best season of his career so far, and he does deserve to be fairly compensated. But it comes a time and point where a team has to make a decision. Either we have to pay you a little bit less just so we can be able to stay competitive, or we just have to move on from you. That's just what it is. And the 49ers continue to try to buy a Super Bowl when it doesn't work like that. And I've said this in, I think, the last, 2 episodes? Either 2 episodes or 3 episodes ago. You can't make every single star player the highest paid. You can't reset the market for every single person. You just can't. They reset the market for Fred Warner. They reset the market for Nick Bosa. They reset the market for Kittle. They reset the market again for Christian McCaffrey. They're about to do it for Trent Williams. I think they also did it for Deebo Samuel at that time. They're going to have to do it for Brock Purdy. At some point, the line has to be drawn in the sand. It has to. It has to. And if he's not willing to comply, oh well, ship him. Ship him. You won't lose an inch of sleep off of it. Ship him. Because in the best Tomlinism that I've ever heard was, we want, what is it? We want, not survivors. What is it, participants? I think it's participants. We want participants, not hostages. That's what Mike Tomlin says. We want people that are going to participate and not hostages. So if you feel like you are a hostage in this situation, move somewhere else. Kick rocks. Now, when we look at Trent Williams, stats and whatnot, the 49ers have ran more to the left and have done this more frequently and more successfully since Trent Williams has been traded to the 49ers. And he's the only O-lineman on that team that ranks top 15 in pressure rates at left tackle. And he's allowed the fourth lowest pressure rate at tackle. That's a Hall of Famer right there, folks. That's a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer right there. That is a difference maker right there. From the moment that he was traded to the 49ers, that was a difference maker. That is someone that you cannot find in the draft, that you cannot find in free agency, that you cannot find via trade. That is a 1 in a million type of player. That is God-given ability. Brandon Aiyuk, that's a system. That's a system. I'm just going to end it there. Now, on to the last topic. Oh, wow, 28 minutes. Okay, pretty good. We're on good time. We got to talk about Omar. We come on, Steelers fans. We got to have an honest conversation about Omar Khan, okay? I'm again going to try to be as non-biased as I possibly can. Going to try to remove all emotion out of it, but if it happens, it happens, okay? I think a question that needs to be asked is, did Omar Khan reach when it came to trying to, upgrade the receiver position? And I would say yes. And the reason why I say that is because you were in a situation where you had Deontay Johnson, a veteran receiver on your team, who was probably looking for just an extra little bit of money, and who basically voiced his opinion about the, current conundrum that was with the quarterback situation and with the offensive, play calling. And they were just like, to hell with you, we're going to ship you somewhere else, right? And they were thinking, okay, maybe we'll have a chance to get one of these other receivers. You didn't. You didn't. You were supposed to have a visit with Mike Williams. Guess what? He signed with the Jets. Tyler Boyd took less money to be with the Titans, right? Who else? Cortland Sutton. I mean, he was in a little bit of a holdout situation with the Broncos. Guess what they did? They just gave him a little bit more extra money in guarantees and whatnot. You've basically been the only team that's been trying to hold on to this whole Brandon Aiyuk situation, right? At some point, you have to call this a fail. It was a fail. It was a failed attempt. You never should have did it because now you done created this big hole on the team that you've tried to fill it with other lower tier receivers thinking that it's going to do it, and it's not. You got Scotty Miller, you got Quez Watkins, and a bunch of other receivers thinking that they're going to be able to do what Deontay Johnson did, and he can't. They can't. They just can't, right? And, sometimes we have to look at it from a player's perspective. Deontay Johnson, his most success came from when he had who? Big Ben, right? And, that was different. It was a different, way that he was getting the ball and, the way that he was getting fed and whatnot compared to with, Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. It was a little bit difficult for him because why? People are learning, the offensive system and, different, various changes and all and whatnot. And then, he did have chemistry with Mason. And then, the media asked him, like, if you could make a decision on who would you want to be the next year's quarterback, he said Mason. And you can't hate him for it. He's just being honest in that moment because why? He was able to get the ball more when he was with Mason than he was with Mitchell Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. That's just what it is. The tape doesn't lie, folks. If you look at the tape of Kenny Pickett when he was with the Steelers, a lot of times Deontay Johnson was open. A lot of times George Pickens was open. A lot of times Pat Freiermuth was open, right? So we have to call a spade in this type of situation. And granted, I understand Omar was thinking that he could probably be the con artist and all those different types of things. But the fact of the matter is, you have now made a hole so big that you're basically hoping and praying that another receiver basically becomes disgruntled and wants out. And even then, they probably wouldn't even want to go to the Steelers anyway because we're not a Super Bowl team, nor are we a playoff team at this point. We're not. And, I understand there are people that are saying, we should have gave up a first round pick to seal the deal with Brandon Aiyuk and whatnot, or we should have gave up George Pickens, to get Brandon Aiyuk, but clearly they didn't, and, it shows. It shows. And now they're in a situation where season's about to start in less than 2 weeks, and you don't have a true number one receiver on your team. You have George Pickens, who's now the one, but even then, can we say that he can handle the workload that comes with being a number one receiver? You have Van Jefferson, you have Calvin Austin, you have Scotty Miller and company. That's what you have. And, to the people that say, well, what about Devontae Adams? Devontae Adams wants to win. Devontae Adams wants a Super Bowl. We are not there. So, of course, he's not going to come to us, right? Unless it's a player who he really doesn't care about, winning a championship, but he just wants to be put in a better situation, then okay, maybe something, it's going to be a situation where they're going to be like, oh yeah, I want to go to the Steelers, I don't know about that, brother. I don't know about that. Granted, I understand that, being a GM is hard, as a fellow former GM and whatnot. I get all those different types of things. I understand that you may whiff on certain situations and whatnot, and you have to take your L's respectfully. But, when you don't have to do it, then don't do it, right? Because the Panthers were already going to release Dante Jackson. So you just gave them a draft pick just cuz, right? And then you gave them, a top receiver as well. So, we whiffed. We whiffed. And now they're going to have to hope, pray, fingers crossed, and a 4-leaf clover and a rabbit's foot and a leprechaun and more, just to see if they can get a true number one receiver on this team. But that's all I'm going to say with that. I told you guys I was going to keep it light and whatnot, so I'm gonna hold myself to that. If you guys like what you are listening, please leave a 5-star review wherever you guys listening to the Football Junkies podcast, and where you can get your daily fix of Football Junkies hot takes, truth bombs, bag road dominance predictions, and all those different types of things. Okay, to my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Okay, to my audio listeners, please leave a 5-star review, leave a comment down below wherever you guys listen to. I know I said it a second time, and I want to reinforce those things. Now, you can follow us on Instagram at football_junkiespod. Again, that is football_junkiespod. Junkies pod is what? It is not spaced out. It is all together, okay? You can follow us on TikTok at football_junkiespod. You can follow us on YouTube as well, football_junkiespod. And as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. What a great way to end the week with a bag alert. If I can put a little prediction out there, I do think Brandon Aiyuk, some resolution will come within the next coming days. I do believe that. Not speculating it off of sources or anything, but I do believe we are at the finish line with something. I don't know what it is, but hopefully it happens. I don't know, maybe by the time I'm done editing this. I don't know. But as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. We are almost 3 episodes? We're almost 3 episodes away from 30 episodes. From 30 episodes, folks. That deserves a celebration. A major celebration. Not only for me, but also for you as well. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I know I say it so much, but I really do. I love you guys so much. Shout out to all the new football junkies, worldwide. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. We hope that you guys stay with us and, come with us, on this journey. Peace and love. I'm out.